Welcome to People and Places, which comes this week from Drayton-st-Leonard. This is John Simpson, and you find me in the centre of this small village situated between Berensfield and Stadhampton. The River Tame flows close by on its way to its junction with the Thames at nearby Dorchester. Indeed, this area is relatively flat, and floods are not unknown in the village. Entering the village from the Oxford-Wallingford road, the first impression is that of market gardening. There are acres of cabbages and other vegetables, along with rows of glasshouses in the distance. And above the centre of the village rises the unusual pointed roof of the big oak-shingled bell turret of the parish church. As we'll discover, this is a working village. It does have its own industry, employing quite a number of people. A fact made all the more surprising by the narrow, winding roads that connect this community to the outside world. And my very first visit here at Drayton-st-Leonard takes me in to meet Ron and Margaret Jones. And well, I'm going to do it the wrong way round, really, because I'm going to talk to Ron Jones first. Not very gentlemanly, but Ron is, after all, the chairman of the parish council. And not only that, you're telling me you were born here in the village.
Yeah, I was born here in 1924, and I lived here all my life.
It's a small village, isn't it?
Yes, a village that nobody visits much, only the people that live in it. It's not a passing-through village, really.
Well, I suppose that's partly because there's no main road, and so you really do have to come to the village to visit it, so to speak.
That's right. It lies between Dorchester and Stadhampton, and has a population of about 380.
Not that many houses, are there?
About 65 to 70 houses, roughly.
I was going to ask you, has it changed very much? But, I mean, being a small village, one imagines not that much in your lifetime.
The village hasn't changed, hardly any, except for a few extra houses being built, but a lot of the villagers have gone now, have passed away, but we still have some old people in the village, you know, and when you get people of 90 years old and 80s, they seem to live forever in this village.
But you've got industry. I mean, you've got farming round here, haven't you?
We've got market gardening. We've got dairy farming and corn growing. We've got Rogers Concrete and Rogers Mini Mix, scrap. So actually, we're a very busy little village.
Tell me about your life here in the village. I mean, you obviously went to school while you were here. Was that actually in the village itself?
Yes, I went to Drayton-st-Leonard School, which is now turned into a village hall, and I stayed there till 11 years old, and then we went to Dorchester School, and we had to push boat to Dorchester then.
How far is that, roughly?
2.5 miles.
This is a fair little ride when it's raining in the middle of winter.
Yes, yeah. We had new bikes, but we had to have protective Wellingtons and that. We always got splashed with cars and lorries along the road.
Where did the bikes come from?
The bikes were issued by the county council, and they were brand new bikes that was bought when we had our summer holidays, and after you had them for a year, they even paid for the upkeep, 7 and 6 a week. Well, 3 of us. The smallest one didn't take part in much, but we were all footballers, and Gerald, which is the third eldest brother, who lives at Berensfield, has turned out Mark Jones, who plays for Oxford United. That's his son.
Yeah, so your nephew is a professional footballer. That's really why I was asking about, did football run in the family?
Yeah, Mark is my nephew, and I also stood to him. He's my godson. So I take a big interest in Mark, the way...
I bet the whole family's pretty proud of him.
Oh, they are, yeah. I mean, since he plays for Oxford, and he's played a few years now, he used to play for Oxford schoolboys, he's always in everybody's mind when they talk about Oxford, you know.
Something else I heard about was a speedway track that used to be here. Is that so?
Yeah, the Cycle Speedway. Well, I'm not sure how many years ago. It's finished now, but the track was just over from where I live, and They had a great team called themselves Drayton Vampires, and one of the riders, Tony Yates, turned out to be the top rider of England, Soca Speedway Champion of England. He got the title riding at Hayes in Middlesex, and one of the very few commentators that we hadn't heard of them was Eamon Andrews when he first started commentating. And Drayton Vampires played teams like Manchester, Liverpool, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and we had coaches galore down into the village. And when you get 6 or 7 coaches come down to a speedway track in a very small village, we were absolutely, on a Sunday afternoon, it was absolutely chaotic.
Well, I don't want to be rude, but I should think people from Manchester and Liverpool wonder where they're coming, don't they?
Well, yeah, some of them had a Dickens job to find it, yeah.
Well, I've come now down to the other end of the village to meet a man who farms here in Drayton-st-Leonard. In fact, I'm at Manor Farm to meet Hugh Farrant, and it's a name, of course, that I recognise. I'm sure a lot of listeners will recognise, Hugh, from your connections with the County Council.
Oh, yes, I was on the County Council for years. Thank God they're over now, those days. I'm just a farmer now.
But you were a leader for some years.
Yes, 4 years, yes. 5 or 6 years ago.
It's, I should think, a very time-consuming job.
It certainly was. I got a lot of time now to devote to farming and sailing.
Well, let's talk about farming, because here we are on your farm. It's harvest time, and I've managed to drag you away literally for a few moments. A busy time for all farmers.
Certainly is, yes. We have 800 acres here, and most of it's down to corn. We have a dairy herd, and we bale all the straw, and, you know, it's a very busy time for us.
What sort of land is it around here?
Oh, some of it's very good indeed, but it varies from grade 1 down to grade 3.
Now, in non-farming terms, that means what, good to not so good?
Exactly, absolutely.
So why is it so variable?
Well, I think this is the usual situation in the Thames Valley. We've got the River Tame going through on the boundary of the Drayton-st-Leonard's area, and that is clay with silt on top, and then the gravel runs on the higher ground, and it depends on how deep that is and how much topsoil and all these sort of factors come into play.
So is it variable as far as the crops that you get off of the land?
Yes, pretty variable, yes, certainly.
And what sort of effect does it have at harvest time? Does some of the field perhaps ripen more than others?
Yes, it does, but really it's the yield that matters, and some parts don't yield as well as other parts.
When I first arrived, you said that you were actually born here in Drayton-st-Leonard. You've been here all your life. Again, you must have seen a few changes in the village.
Oh, yes. I mean, the biggest change, I think, was when Dutch elm disease hit Drayton-st-Leonard's. And looking around, I think that Drayton-st-Leonard's probably suffered more than most other villages in Oxfordshire. We used to have some magnificent elm trees, but the trouble was in Drayton-st-Leonard's, that's all we had, apart from the willows along the river bank. And it was devastating. It's getting better now. And I hope we've learnt that we have to plant many more different species.
So if we do get a disease in the future, we'll at least have some trees left.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Because the one thing I couldn't miss when I came through the centre of the village was the church. And I hadn't been here for a few years, and I seem to remember the last time I came past, the church didn't look anything like as smart as it does now.
No, one of the real success stories of a little village like Drayton-st-Leonard's is that it managed to raise 20,000 plus £1,000 for restoration, entirely from within the village. And because I think that it doesn't matter which faith the villagers belong to, they all feel that Drayton-st-Leonard's church is a little historic gem which must be preserved. I think all of us in the village feel that way, and the result is we have been able to raise the cash, get the grant from the Department of Environment, and I think do an extremely good job.
Yes, indeed. It's an unusual church because it has that unusual wooden tower.
Indeed. It's probably, I think there's only one other in the country like ours. As I say, it's a lovely, it's the best part of the village.
You mentioned just now flooding with regard to farming, but I gather there's also a certain amount of flooding goes on in the village itself.
Oh, yes. The village does, in parts of it, do flood. And in fact, I can't, in a bad flood, get out onto the road, the highway, without going through my farmyard, which is a bit traumatic. But we learn to live with it in the village. It's always happened. And in fact, in 1947, we had the worst flood. Unfortunately, I was away at boarding school, but apparently several houses were flooded slightly, And it's said that by my back door, a punt managed to go round, which meant that I suppose it had a depth of about 2 or 3 inches of water. But we do have floods here nearly every year, and we learn to live with it.
Not that much concern then by local villagers?
No, it's outsiders that think it's terrible. We don't mind.